All right. It's not about the superstars for either team. It's about the role players. And when Alex Caruso is hitting and Danny Green is hitting and Rajon Rondo is making plays, all of a sudden, the Lakers are really tough to beat. We saw that look in LeBron's eyes in the closeout game, in game 6 down the stretch. And LeBron had that, that I'm not losing this game look, and he was unbelievable down the stretch of that game. But it wasn't just LeBron. Caruso was hitting, Green was hitting, Anthony Davis had the threes. My question to you, I guess, now that I'm ranting on and on, when it comes to the series, are the role players from the Lakers every bit as good as the role players from the Heat? Because Miami's role players have certainly stepped up here in the postseason.
That's a tough question. And I love Miami Heat as a team. But I have to say, I mean, the Lakers, other guys besides LeBron and Anthony Davis have stepped up all throughout the playoffs. I don't see why it would be any difference here. I think that we can call the role players evenly matched in this series. What I think it boils down to is, matchups like always. But I think in this first game, it's going to be a fill-out process. Lakers will probably come out big and see how Miami handles that. Miami will probably love that the Lakers are big, and Miami will probably throw a zone at the Lakers. But the thing is, I don't think the zone will affect the Lakers how it did some of these other teams. I've seen the Lakers play against Miami, play against that zone, and as long as Anthony Davis in the middle, it sets up well for LA. And like you said, Teddy, as long as those role players are hitting those shots when he's passing it out, it sets up well for Los Angeles.
This is the other key matchup that I'm concerned about in this series. Certainly from a Miami standpoint, you're talking about Bam. Adebayo, an all-star this year. He certainly came up huge in Miami's closeout win over the Celtics. And yet, when we look at the Lakers in the front court with McGee, with Howard, with Davis, that looks to me like a pretty good matchup for LA against Bam Adebayo. Do you agree with that, or do you think Adebayo's quickness is going to allow him to make some plays against the Lakers' trees down in the low post?
So I would have to add a player in there. I don't think McGee is going to see too much of the floor because so much of Miami's action, it's just going to be too much to ask of McGee. And I think you can kind of say the same for Dwight. The advantage with having the bigs in there would be mostly rebounding for the Lakers, especially if Miami plays zone, they can sneak around and grab rebounds. But on the Miami side, if Dragic and Bam see Dwight Howard for pick and roll, they're going to eat that up all day. So it's beneficial for both sides. We'll see maybe who it's a little bit more beneficial for in game 1.
Ski, what do you think price-wise? Like the Lakers 4 winning in 5 plus 275, a sweep at plus 450, or vice versa? You see anything there?
I'll say this. I don't think LeBron James is very good in game 1s. And so with that said, I can see Miami coming out here maybe sneaking a game 1 victory. And if that happens, I'm not going to say the Lakers are gentlemen sweeping Miami Heat. So I would roll with the Lakers in 6 if I had to pick a series bet right now.
And I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Sorry, Teddy.
Lakers.
Go ahead,
you done, Lawrence?
Teddy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
The arrangement we have is you talk, Hakeem talks, I talk. You talk, Hakeem talks, I talk. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, let's break it up.
I want to do.
And then we have a little. So Prez and I set up a little chat.
I want to redo our prenup.
Set up a little chat. So being that he's in Toronto and I'm in Vegas, he can say, hey, I'm next, or I'm next. So we don't have this cutting off, but for some reason he forgot to use it right there. And then it's trying to blame me.
Always.
Let's talk about. So let's start with this. All right.
No.
Game. In terms of, if I'm picking a prediction part of the series, I'm with you. Lakers in 6 is all I can predict. From a betting standpoint, there's no interest in that particular outcome simply because the price isn't right. When it comes to game 1, however, maybe the price is right. Lakers -5 against Miami, and we just saw one of the key leading indicator books, Offshore Penny, just moved to 4.5 on that ball game. Total for game 1 sitting at 217.5. Let's break down game 1. Ski, what do you think inside and or total?
Well, I'll touch a little bit on the side. I guess I'll finish that thought process out, but I want to say LeBron James is maybe 1-8 against the spread or something crazy like that in the finals and in game ones. So I'm not expecting him to be too great. Parlay that with the Lakers not really being so great off of extended rest. Here they have 3 days of rest. I'm not running to the window to back the Lakers. Like I said, I think it's a fill out process. I think it's moving in the right direction. If you like the Lakers, I mean, I think the line is fair because when the Lakers win, they usually win by 6 or more, but it's just not so great in game ones. And then when I have to think about the total, it's a lot I have to think about. But I can see it doing a little bit of both. For one, game ones in the playoffs, the last 2 years, I want to say, the under is 21-8. So we're seeing more unders than not. And I think about Miami playing that zone. And when I initially think about that, I think that maybe the Lakers struggle. I mean, we haven't been, I say we because I'm a Lakers fan, we haven't been the greatest three-point shooting team. But at the same time, I've watched plenty of tape. I've watched plenty of games where Lakers played against this zone and they figured out how to beat it. They placed Anthony Davis right in the middle. And after that, everything else was easy. And I look at LeBron James. If the zone doesn't work for Miami, LeBron, he's going to have a pretty easy time scoring. He's 4-0 straight up versus Miami in a Lakers uniform, 33 points per game, 55% from the field, 60% from three. And on the Miami side, they're the second best three-point shooting team. So initially, I'm like, yeah, it can go under because they're two top defensive teams, but I see plenty of advantages for both teams to score.
Yeah, and so once again, you and I conceptually are in exactly the same place in that you're thinking, well, they're going to throw some defensive wrinkles that maybe they're not prepared for, so we're looking under in game one. And yet, if you've been playing unders this postseason, you haven't done very well. And we certainly, either of the two teams are capable of getting hot from beyond the arc. Now, both teams struggled from three-point range repeatedly here in the postseason. And certainly that was a big part of how Boston got back into the series against Miami. It's a big part of why the Lakers haven't blown everybody out. What do you think about the three-point shooting here in this series and in particular for game one?
I trust Miami Heat to deliver from the three-point line. My question is on the Lakers side. I don't really trust them off that many days rest in game one. So my thought process was to fade the Lakers. But at the same time, if we're talking just about the total, like we said, or you said you expect the teams to come out and do some things on defense. My thing is, I think it's the fill-out game. So I said the two bigs can play for LA and they have an advantage. Like, for example, so far in the playoffs, they're rebounding, offensive rebounding at 29% of possessions. That's a huge advantage. And if they're playing that zone, we can see a lot more of that. That's going to lead to more scoring. So even if the Lakers are taking those three-point shots and missing, I can see them getting some offensive rebounds and putting it back in.
Hakeem Profit's joining us, everybody. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Ski, what do you have on tap for your clients?
Today, we have Game 5 in the WNBA playoffs. Win or go home. So I have a best bet up tonight for that.
Okay, there you go. Thanks for joining us, brother. We'll see you next Tuesday. Guys, let's take a quick break. Dave Sharapan coming up. Ralph Michaels coming up. Teddy's 6Bs. Stay with us.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.
Welcome back to Wager Talk Today, your Sports Central for gamblers here on this Tuesday, the last Tuesday of September. It's time for bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. And being that there was only 2 games last night, I don't know, there was tennis and whatever else, but there were 2 games. The one wasn't really much of a result for the books. The Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup. Let's give them congratulations. From a betting standpoint, it was a light action game. The 2-0 final meant the -1.5s were good. They did play some plus prices out on Tampa last night. Obviously, the under was good in that game from wire to wire. it was not a big decision for the house. The game that was a big decision for the house was, of course, the Monday night football game. And from a side standpoint, look, I had the Ravens last night. I couldn't have been more wrong. I was shocked. I'm still shocked. I'm still debating how much I need to downgrade Baltimore for that performance last night because that wasn't a Ravens team that I expected to see. And they played like deer in the headlights from the get-go. So from a side standpoint, there was no drama last night. Public was on KC. Wise guys were on Baltimore. Wise guys got their ass kicked. But from a total standpoint, and let's bring Prez into the equation here. Prez is going to claim that the over last night was a bad beat. If you had the over, that was a bad beat. And there's certainly plenty of arguments to be made for that. That said, you could have bet over 53.5 earlier in the week and cashed your ticket. You had a kick return touchdown in last night's game. And you had a total in the 50s where one team's offense didn't work all game. Tough beat, yes. Bad beat, no. Prez, you care to disagree?
Yeah, look, Teddy, I mean, I hate this term bad beat anyway. I mean, ultimately, we're gambling and we're going to have, bad luck and good luck. And to me, I take this one step further. Firstly, I did bet 53.5 earlier on in the week and won personally.
Good.
At least my play, it was at 54, so I pushed. But ultimately, the majority of people who purchased my play purchased it later on during the day yesterday and ultimately lost. Bad beat? Look, I don't know. I mean, it's a tale of two halves, right? If it was spun in the opposite direction and the guy didn't miss the extra point, it would have been a bad beat for the under. So I don't look at things that way. I look at things as how frustrated I get. And when I go back over week 3, and we spoke about week 3 in its entirety at the beginning of the show, I look at the fact that I had the over in the Miami-Jacksonville game to start that week. I needed 17 freaking points in the second half, didn't get it. I look at the fact that I had the Atlanta Falcons up by 16 freaking points, and I personally bet them on the money line and couldn't get it. I look at the fact that I had the over in last night's game and pushed. I had a missed extra point, a missed field goal, Lamar Jackson down at the 10-yard line at the end of the game with a prevent defense in, and all he does is get moved to the 30. I just want this week over, and it is. So let's move on and vote for.
I think you froze. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you froze. I don't even know what you said, right? Yeah. Yeah, all he's got to do is refresh his browser. We'll have Prez back ranting and raving in just a moment. Okay, I'll start with this. All right. When you lose a total on a missed extra point in the first quarter, it's a bit of a screw job. All right. But that game turned on the very first possession of the game when John Harbaugh made the decision to kick the field goal on fourth down. And I'm sitting there going, didn't you just watch Anthony Lynn make the same choice? You can't kick against Kansas City. You have to go for it on fourth down. And of course, they kicked the field goal, the Chiefs down the field, and Mahomes was insane last night.
Yeah,
that's as good as I've ever. He's the best quarterback in the NFL, and last night might have been the best I've ever seen him play. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, but Teddy, I want to shout out to Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid, because for however good Mahomes was, and he was like world class, the play calling by the Kansas City Chiefs offense was as good as it could be. I mean, that underhand play to the fullback. Then they had some really interesting motion in the backfield all night long with Tyreek Hill. I was just so impressed with the play calling by Kansas City. And Teddy, back to my rant, what annoys me the most is that I have such deep respect for you and Tony in NFL, and both of you guys loved Baltimore, and I loved Kansas. My respect for you kept me off of a winning Kansas City bet. So Bugger you both.
I have no response to that other than, look, I lost money last night. My clients lost money last night. So you can dance around and talk about how happy you are. Good stuff.
I'm not happy at all. Let's take a break. Right back. Dave Sharapan.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.
Hey guys, it's me, the Prez, Teddy with us. $2 Tuesdays, Teddy at WagerTalk.com. Las Vegas. Chris is our $2 handicapper. He's got a very rare 5% play up. And how rare? This is his third 5% play in 1.5 years. Third 5% play in 1.5 years. It's in NFL. It's only $2 at WagerTalk.com. So make sure to check that out. Also, just want to shout out, give a hello to everybody joining us today. Adele, how are you? Elliot, Cristiano, Vivian, Will, nice to see you. Matthew, Jamal, Bob, and on, Eric Cross, Steve, Terry. Guys, we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to join us. I know Dave Sharapan is up next. I know he can't hear me. So just, you can go to a washroom now, get a drink, come back after he's done. But anyway, yeah, so thanks for joining us. And please, guys, make sure to let your friends know about our show. Teddy, man, do we really? Dave Sharapan, another 12 minutes with this guy and his backwards cap? Let's bring him on. Let's see if he's got the backwards cap going. Yeah, backwards cap. Dave, I think this is the best segment of the week, bar none. You are absolutely outstanding. Must listen to. If anybody went to the washroom during this segment, they're a bunch of idiots. How are you?
Man, I am so good. I don't even know what to do with myself. The Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup last night. I know you've been on them. I've been on them. Everybody's cashing tickets. So now we get to move on to further sports. I come prepared every week, Prez. You can't just come to this segment and get ready, just like your average segment in any other show. So I come prepared with all the odds, all the stuff. And then I get to listen to about 10 minutes of the show before I come on. And I figured I better bring this too, because all that time you were doing, I mean, seriously, about the bad beats. I've been listening to this stuff at the counter for years. We got to just let it go.
Wait. Stop.
On to.
Wait. You're behind the counter taking bets, and a guy comes up and starts ranting to you randomly about a bad beat? Like you're just like the guy behind the counter?
Prez, working behind the counter in a book is like working at a bar. We don't serve drinks. We serve 3-team parlays. We serve 2-team teasers. It's unbelievable. This box of Kleenex is a staple at every book that you've ever worked at. If you don't have one, you should probably try a different book. No one tells you this when you sign up for the job, but it's part of it. That exact rant that you've had, I've been listening to for over 20 years.
Like strangers? Like I cannot imagine a strange person just walking up to a random guy and going on and on about bad beats.
When's the last time you hung out? Prez, when's the last time you hung out in a sports book in Vegas?
Well, I mean,
you're here in town all the time. You play poker all the time. But when you're here, yeah, you don't hang out in the book. When you hang out in the book, that's what it is, man. I used to hang out at the Stardust when I first moved to Vegas. That was my sports book. Was the Stardust Racing Sports book. It was everyone's book. That was the place. And literally, there was a guy in there. He's like, I haven't had a wrong side in 20 years. Every loser I had is a bad beat. It certainly happens all the time.
That was me, Teddy.
I
think that's how we met. Well,
I knew you from somewhere.
Anyway, Dave, that is wild stuff, man. I mean, it's like you should have a tip jar right next to you. Put $1 in if you want to vent to me about your stupid bad beat.
We used to say that. We used to say, listen, on Mondays and Tuesdays, especially during football season, we made one window. This is the bad beat window. You have to take it today. If you work on Monday and Tuesday, you should get extra hazard pay because today you're the bad beat, especially on these Monday night primetime games. That under last night was a bitter pill to swallow. There's no question about it. But, man, you could last all day today. And complete strangers, Prez, they need someone to talk to, and they come up with that ticket and say, look, I had 54. I believe you.
54 and a half are the ones that the guys that you feel real sorry for, the 55.
Right.
Today, no question. But, you talk about the concept of at behind the counter and tipping. I want to talk about for a minute because that to me is something. Vegas is a tipping town. When you come to Vegas, you tip everyone. Just to put a stack of fives in your pocket and you file them out. Do people tip at the books regularly? Is that rare that people tip at the counter, or does that happen on a regular basis?
I'll tell you what, it's more common from the locals because anyone that works for tips. Anyone that doesn't know. And it's not really advertised as much in books. So, no. You don't see a lot of tipping going on in sports books, and ideally for the people that work behind the counter that put the time in, you would like to see them maybe tip a little bit more. But you can't assume either. I mean, there's a lot of curmudgeon people that have worked in books that I've worked with that that expect a tip. You can't ever expect a tip because you can come cash a ticket where you bet a nickel on a game and you're cashing $10.50. They don't see the 3 losers that you had as well. So it's hard to say that, you should tip, but I think the best thing you can do if you really want to leave a tip is leave a parlay. Leave someone a 2-teamer for $5, for the boys. Like when you go to a craps table and you play craps and you play something for the dealers, they love it. If you're playing blackjack, they like the action too. So if you leave something, leave a play. If you really like something, leave a play for them. And then they can cash that, and it only cost you $5, and they're cashing it for 10. Or you hit a little 2-teamer for $5, they're cashing it for $18. Those things go a long way. And then if you come back, don't be surprised if you want a drink ticket, you may get 3 or 4 handed to you real fast. So those things work; they'll go a long way. Those little fivers, you can get lit on leaving a couple $5 tips if that's your thing.
And let me I wanted to ask you very specifically about the price points for tipping, because people don't know. Do you tip $1 or $2? Do you tip a Finsker? Do you tip a 20? Will you get an insulting look if you give the guy a couple of bucks and you should have given him a Finsker? What's the story there with the tip amounts when you're talking about tipping in the sportsbook?
Well, it's all variable. I mean, everyone's bankroll is your own bankroll. So if you leave the change, people bet $10 to win $9.10 or whatever, they don't lay the juice. So if you collect, always leave the change. Don't ever pick up the change. But if that's the only thing you leave, some people on the other side of the counter will be like, wow, he left me the change. Like, thanks, or they'll have a comment for you after you leave the counter. So a $5 always works, Teddy. If you leave a $5 anywhere in the book for anything, whether you leave a $5 bet or you cash out and you leave a $5, that's great. Anything more than that, I mean, I've been literally tipped, a nickel when someone cashed out something. I mean, and you get tipped a nickel. I mean, you want to leave that person maybe in the will at some point. Like that makes an impression that person will get whatever they want when they come back in the book. So there's anything in between is good, but a $5 always works minimum. If you're going to leave a tip, that's a good start.
Yeah, Dave, I didn't hear anything you just said. I'm still reeling over the fact that Teddy calls it a Finsker. Is that because you're trying to be cool? You want to be cool? A Finsker?
I think
Did
it's
you
a
make that
Ferris
up?
Bueller reference. I'm almost sure of it. Isn't that from Ferris Bueller? I've been calling a fighter on the bill a Finster my whole life. Since high school we were calling it a Finster.
Maybe it's a Michigan thing, Prez. I don't know. It could be a Michigan thing, or
Dave,
something like Teddy's cool. No matter what you try to say, Prez, Teddy is still cool. He's okay. You just gotta ride it out sometimes. Like that line from Animal House. He's on a roll. Let him go. Sometimes, Prez, you just gotta let Teddy go.
Fair enough, Dave. Listen, let's get to it, dude. Fill us in on what happened at the books this past weekend. Some massive dogs won in college football.
Cool.
A bunch of overs in NFL. Give us a quick rundown on bets that were interesting, what you won, what you lost, etc.
It's already starting, and this has been a trend in the last couple of years. Saturday is a good day for the books because you want to talk about really having a tough time finding an edge and getting on right sides of games and things like that. Saturday we're opened up and more schools are playing. Teams like Oklahoma, 28-point favorite going down. LSU, which, a lot of sharp people were on the other side of that one, goes down. Moneyline parlays. Last week on Sunday, the books had cases of this. There was so much crying last week. Well, this week, it turned. Saturday, good.
You don't
day
have
for
a
the
prop
books.
for that?
No, it happens.
Where's
It's
your
give and
prop
take.
on it turning?
What's that?
Where's the prop on it turning? You got a tissue box? We need something positive.
All you do is you just hand this over back and forth over the counter. You give it, the books have it one week, and then you give it to the bettors the next week.
That's a great
point.
point.
It's the same prop. You just turn it back and forth, just like the money. I mean, a lot of this game is we're just trading money back and forth, and then whoever ends up with it in December and January, that's the winner or loser. So the story of Sunday was the totals. The totals, all of the first games, the only game that didn't go over was the tie. So
the overtime game.
Yeah, and there was a lot of books sweating like, this could go really bad again if these games continue to go over. So the afternoon session got it back. The Sunday night game, man, that was the public winner of the day, was Green Bay and over. And then last night, everyone, all the sharp guys had Baltimore. Sharp guys lose too. Like there's no one way to do this and one way to come out ahead. I mean, every sharp person in town was on the Ravens last night. So it lost. And the books ended up okay. The week turned okay for the NFL. And again, I say it all the time, the windows are open. And guess what we have today? Major League Baseball. We have the NBA Finals coming up. There's always another game in another sport. So take the Kleenex, wipe the tears, and then come to the window, make your play.
Enough looking backwards. Let's look forwards. But first, Dave, I want to make sure you get ample time to self-promote for anything you want to self-promote, whether it's Caesars, William Hill, or Dave Sharpen. Personally, knock yourself out. What do you want to promote? How about that Twitter handle where you put out these incredible threads with amazing stories? Everyone should be following you on Twitter. You're a great follow.
Thank you, sir. At Sportsbook Consigliere, it's at SportsBK Consig. Again, it's story time from the book. It's talks like this. I love talking about the business. I love telling stories, and I love listening to stories as well. So if I hear a good story, I'll put it on the thread, and we get to talk business. We get to talk shop, just like with you guys every Tuesday. I mean, you have to bring your A game every time you come on this segment, and you guys do it every day. So I do these shows. You can find anywhere I go is on there. As far as the next move, we're still in the free agency mode. We're still talking. We're still trying to figure out where we're going to end up. So we'll worry about that later. Let's talk some sports, Teddy. We're running out of time. Joe's on the other end. He's going to be yelling in your ear. You got 2 minutes. Get to something, please.
Let's talk baseball for tonight because we haven't talked any Major League Baseball just yet. We have 4 games going today in MLB. 3 of them are early games. Why are they running all these early games on weekdays?
There's a debate tonight that may have some interest for some ratings and stuff in the United States. So,
do you honestly think?
Back burner. Yes.
that sports fans wouldn't be watching the playoffs instead of the debate?
No, I don't think. I don't even
I'm
want to
watching
get
the
started with
debate.
it. Everyone's watching the debate, Teddy. Everyone's watching the debate.
Yeah.
Oh
This
my
is
God, I
2020.
can't.
Like, I'm literally taping it. I taped
I will not
the
watch
debate.
the debate. I don't want to watch either guy talk. Let's talk about the action in MLB. What are we seeing so far in terms of sharp money, public money for the 4 games for today?
Man, so far this has been this is the most wide open I can remember. Major League Baseball used to have it where only 4 teams made the playoffs. 2-team division winners. If you won 102 games and you finished second in the division, they said, thanks, nice season, see you next year. And now they let everybody in the playoffs. This is crazy. There's 3-game series. You've played all this time, whatever, and now you have 3 games. The action is this. It's very tight. There's nobody really knows kind of which way to go. It's such an individual game basis only. I mean, Cole Bieber and Yankees-Indians. The total is 6.5 with juice. You're going to see a lot of play on individual games, but the way the schedule goes, it's going to be limited. I don't think you're going to see the sharp play. The public had a field day with baseball this 60-game sprint. The books lost. It wasn't a very good baseball season, but I think the playoffs are going to provide an opportunity for books to get some back. And that game's a tough one. I mean, right off the bat, who do you like? I mean, the pitching. This is an old school pitching matchup for baseball purists like myself. I love baseball, and you want to talk about turning things around, looking forward, turning it around backward. I'm wearing the backward hat. It's a White Sox hat. I love this team. I love the White Sox. I really do. They're so much fun to watch. But a 3-game series, they only got really one good pitcher. They're playing Oakland. It is a short price. It feels like Oakland's the side in that. But the White Sox are favored today. 2020 is crazy. And yes, they've rescheduled the day of baseball games today because of this debate tonight.
That is one that baffles me a little bit. Just a few minutes left here with Dave Sharpen, who is now a free agent. So I'm not going to call you from William Hill or Caesars at the moment. We'll say free agent odds maker, Dave Sharpen. Let's take a look real quick at the action for this coming weekend. Have you seen any big moves early in the NFL or college worthy of note?
Well, it's crazy. I just got an alert while we were doing this segment about this Tennessee situation. The Titans situation is the game may be actually postponed, and it's been pulled off the board at pretty much every book in town, even globally. I don't know what's going to happen, but there was a move on Pittsburgh. Someone always knows, and you can follow the lines and you can see things, and we know things on the other side of the counter before we get the alerts or there's a news thing, and you wonder, well, why are they steaming the Steelers? Well, this is why. Because if they play the game, Tennessee's going to be shorthanded. The other one that was not really a big move or anything yet, but what you've seen is now the totals. We all know what happened. 9-5, 9-6 Sunday. The totals, there are 9 totals, Teddy, in the NFL this week that are in the 50s. Every single total except this miserable Thursday night game, which I got to give you guys credit at WagerTalk. Someone's going to have a side or a total in that game. I don't know who's going to watch it, but if you're going to come up with something, you got to respect what people do that put out plays all the time. Every total is 45 or higher. So be careful going at the totals this week because, obviously the books know as well. Things are being adjusted. The NFL is a different game right now, though. There's no one's ever out of a game. And the old school, what do we call it? The 4-minute offense or the 8-minute offense where you used to see a drive last and just take the air out of the football and you protected a 21-point lead. No one knows how to do that anymore. Nobody knows how to protect a lead.
Hey,
you never feel like you're
Atlanta
out
are
of
masters. The Falcons own that move. They patented
they're
it.
The worst. What the
Dave,
Falcons
Dave,
did
I got
on
a
Sunday,
quick question.
back-to-back for the first time in history. It never was done where a team lost a game being up 15 going into the fourth quarter in history. They did it in back-to-back weeks, Prez. And you were on them. I was on them. If you were on them, you're never going to forget it. Go ahead. What's your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so my beer league hockey league starts tonight. We're playing the
Can I
Nostradamuses.
I want to play. I want to play.
Is there a line out?
I don't know. Are you in goal?
No, but I did play goal for the first time a couple of years ago, and I couldn't get back up. Like, I wasn't bad. I was able to like get in front. I had my positioning correct, but once I went down, I would actually have to spin my body so that I was lying, and then use my hand on my blocker to push myself up in mid-play. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I haven't played hockey in a couple years, and I played my whole life growing up. I played in college. I miss it so much. But now as you get older, the hardest thing sometimes for some of the guys in the room is to tie your skates. You get that blood rush to your head, and you bend over, and you can't tie your damn skates, and it's hard enough. So if you go in goal, remember back in the day with the equipment, it used to get wet. And you got down and you couldn't get up. I've fallen and I can't get up. We used to say that all the time.
Dave, we got this one guy where two of us have to move his stomach to the side so he can tie his skates up. That's how bad it's getting for us. He's Dave Sharp, and I'm the Prez, Teddy Covers. We love you, bro. Fun as hell segment. We can't wait till next Tuesday. Thanks for joining us, guys. Quick break. Ralph Michaels next.
First-time customers at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com receive $25 in WagerBucks after your first initial purchase. All you have to do is sign up, make your purchase, and you'll get $25 in credit. Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.
It's time for a big game breakdown here on Wager Talk Today. And being that there's one game tonight, that's the one to break down. Let's talk Yankees and Indians. This is basically a pick 'em. Yankees are in the minus 105 to minus 110 range. They've taken a little bit of money today. Total 6.5 money on the under. And of course, that's because we have a matchup of two aces here in Shane Bieber and Garrett Cole. Certainly your first look is going to be to the under when you have two starters of this caliber. However, you start to look a little bit closer, and maybe there's an edge here. All right. Certainly the Yankees had their fair share of problems during the regular season. You know, they started out hot. They lost 15 out of 20 in a 60-game season and still finished, fifth in the American League. That came when they were riddled with key injuries. They are no longer riddled with key offensive injuries. That lineup is healthy. And they led the American League with an 811 OPS against right-handed pitching. Oh, what's Bieber? He's a right-hander. When you look at Bieber's stats, you're like, oh, my God, he won the Triple Crown in baseball, in pitching, through the ERA and wins and strikeouts. Then you look at the quality of opposition that he faced. He didn't face any lineups outside the two Central divisions. Faced the Twins a couple times, faced the White Sox a couple times, faced the Reds once. The quality of opposing batters that Bieber has faced is as weak as it gets. Cole, on the other hand, played in the AL East, proven postseason performer from last year, certainly dominant in the playoffs. And he's facing a lineup in Cleveland that ranked number 24 in baseball in runs. Okay. What they have, a 240 batting average with runners in scoring position? Cleveland couldn't hit all year. They're facing an elite ace-level hurler tonight. The Yankees hit when they were healthy. When it comes to postseason baseball, I understand the pitching is going to take center stage. There's not a huge pitching edge in this matchup. There's not a huge bullpen edge in this matchup. But the Yankees most assuredly have the more potent of these two lineups in a pick 'em price range. That's the only way I can look. Take the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers. Again, minus 105, minus 110. Don't lay more than 110. That's the prevailing number. If you're laying more than that, you need to do some line shopping. But the Yankees a clear choice. For this better, it's a bet I've made myself, and it's a bet that I've given to my clients. You guys get it? We're just watching the show.
That was awesome, Teddy. I loved the opening, man. It reminded me of the Michael Buffett brothers. Those guys get paid for doing nothing.
I don't even know. I mean, I don't know a lot of pop culture references, but I know Jimmy Buffett. I've heard of Michael Buffett.
No, the guy who goes, "It's time for the main event. That guy over there and that guy over there. They're going to fight over here. And they just paid me $50,000 and a plane ticket to do that."
Good gig if you can get it.
Yeah. Well, I actually think I'd be really, really good at it personally. But speaking of, it's time. Are you ready? It's time for the main event. Ralph Michaels in the corner over there with the pen. Do it, Ralph. Okay, I got.
Our producer Joe is the best. Joe, I love the joke. So, nice job. I
didn't hear the joke.
You couldn't see the joke when you were talking. He puts a big sign up over your face. This is another Prez joke. Do not encourage.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. And I see that now, but it comes across blurry. Oh my God, Joe, we need more of that, brother. By the way, now that I'm speaking again, Ralph, guys, let's go. Like hit that like button. 402 of you watching, 77 likes. And Ralph, I have an incredible story about when I met the Buffer brothers. I met him at the Mandalay Bay buffet. And they hate me. I was like, oh my God, it's Michael Buffett. And I'm like, pass the salt. I just completely, I was so rude. Anyway, Ralph, just go. Take it over.
Prez, we are never going to get that 15 seconds back in our lives, dude. That's all right. One bit of bookkeeping, guys. Monday is always $9 Monday. Any package is $9. Marco has a MLB series play up of 5%. McGinnis had a 5% play. What we did, because the games were today, Tuesday in the day, anyone that was $9 on Monday that posted a Tuesday play, you can still get them for $9. You did not miss out. Jump over to WagerTalk.com and get the extended $9 Monday special on your favorite MLB capper. I am going to combine my angle of the day and situational play of the day into one. Teddy, I've got a question for you. I think you're going to have a very good response to this unless you saw the notes. You know, game one for a playoff series, big deal. You're setting up your pitcher to be there for you, your ace. Since 2012, the average line for game one home teams minus 142. What is the record for those 69 games since 2012?
I would say the home teams are 35 and 34, somewhere in that range.
Excellent job reading. Nice job. So, you know, guys, don't think this is Major League Baseball. Game one, you do not have the same home field edge as in the NBA as in the NFL. There basically is no home edge. So game one of a playoff series, even with an ace at home, has been a losing proposition. You're only one game over 500 with an average line of minus 142. Now take a look if they lose game one, guys. Keep this note for tomorrow. If that team loses game one at home, in game number two since 2012, they are 23 and 11, and you see the average line goes down to minus 132. So we know there's no home real edge. You guys know if you watch, the Chicago White Sox are 14 and 0 versus lefties. Is that an anomaly record or is that a legitimate record? Well, when you're number one in Major League Baseball slugging percentage against lefties with a .523 average, when you're number two in Major League Baseball in on-base percentage of .378 against lefties. You have Giolito. Luzardo has stuff. Luzardo's off the shutout, but I do like the White Sox today. So they're minus $1.20 right now. So don't be afraid of fading game one playoff guys. White Sox 14-0. White Sox number one slugging lefties. White Sox number two in on-base percentage against lefties. So situational and angle of the day both go with the Chicago White Sox. And, you know, we broke down college football yesterday. So I just wanted to break down the NFL a little bit today. Now, granted, we're only 3 games in. So I don't want you to overreact to these numbers. But I also don't want you to underreact to the numbers because you see them. Now, we heard Dave Sharapan on talk about how all these games are in the 50s. And yes, the early games went 7 overs and 1 under, with the game under an overtime game that had anyone scored all 8 games would have been over. But when you look at current 3-game record in this COVID season compared to the last 5 years, ATS for home teams 50%, previous 5 years 48%. Home favorites 50% this year, 48%. Home favorites of 3.5 or more, 65% this year, 48% the previous 5 years. So we hear, oh, there's no home field edge. Oh, you know, you can bet the road teams because they're better. Well, so far this year, home teams have been better than the previous 5 years overall at home as a home favorite, and certainly as a home favorite of 3.5 or more. Now I want you to take a look at the home teams over-under. I have them listed at the very top line in blue. The over-unders, 60% this year, 27-18, 3 pushes. The previous 5 years in the NFL, if you played every over-under, 48.5% to the over, 51.5% to the under. And then if you go down to the average stats on the bottom, you see that the average points, we're at basically 51 points per game. Scoring the previous 4 years was at 44 point something. So scoring up about 5.5 points. Remember, it was up 9 points earlier. It's now back down to 5. This one caught me by surprise. First quarter scoring. Home teams getting outscored in the first quarter through the first 3 weeks, and home teams getting outgained. If you look at the average home edge to the right, where the column says it's 356 to 337, over the last 5 years, a home team has had an edge of 17 or more yards. This year, home team actually getting outgained by a few yards per game. So while it's a wild, not a very exciting, did you know, at least it keeps you apprised of the situation. So now I want to throw out one more stat just to give you guys a record or something to play on. There have only been a handful of ties, 26 ties since 1989, 30-some years. How do teams do after the tie? Well, they're 9-7 ATS. That's one way of looking at it. But when I do home and away, teams off a tie now playing at home the next week, 7-6 ATS. Teams off a tie playing on the road, 2-11 against the spread. But I will say this, Arizona did cover last year, so it was 1-11 ATS. Arizona tied Detroit, went to Baltimore, kept that game closer than expected. So just some numbers there off a very bizarre situation with not a very big sample size.
Real quick, Ralph, before we let you go and close out the show, I want to ask you about those NFL totals. You said how many totals this week are lined above 50? Half of them?
He said, I believe he said.
I think he said, yeah. Close to half of them, if not half of them, at 50 plus.
Yeah.
And yet last week we were talking about scoring being 9 points per game above average, and this week that number's gone down based on the cumulative averages. Do you think the markets have overreacted? Because that's the $1 million question. Are the markets overreacting to the scoring, or are all of these inflated totals warranted given the current betting conditions and conditions for offense in the NFL.
Well, you have to remember there's ebbs and flows in the NFL. People think a 50 total is something we haven't seen because we go through stages. There have been 494 totals of 50 or higher since 2000 and since 1989, 31 years. So yes, we see more of them now, but the 2012 season, the 2013 season, there were a bunch of offenses that had those totals there. Right now, when you look at a total, the average total when it is at 50 or higher, the average point scored is only 53.47 as I'm adding that up in my head. So when you have a total of 50, the over-unders are 51.3%. Lifetime in the NFL, excuse me, not lifetime, since 1989, lifetime of my database. So if you ever hear me say that, that's always what I'm referring to. So the over-unders, 51.3% with a total of 50 or higher, but the average final score with a total of 50 is only a total of 53.4 points. So you have a much shorter option there of variance. Either the game goes way under or it's sneaking over the total. So I'm always leery of playing those 50 totals. You're watching these games now and you say, oh, no problem, you can do them. But, let me just jump in one more quick and see what happens if it's a division total of 50 or higher. If it is a division total of 50 or higher, it's only 46.3% over. Non-division games, 53.8 over. So that's what we'll take out of it. Total of 50 or higher, division, 46.3 over. Non-division, 53.8% over.
Ralph Michaels, what a pleasure to have you with us. Hey, listen, we got to call it a show, but tomorrow let's talk a little bit about 58 as a number. There cannot be a lot of those throughout the history of the NFL. Anything quickly to promote?
Nope. $2 Tuesday. Get those $9 Mondays. And, it was a great month of sales at WagerTalk. Prez, just FYI, 11-4-1 are the 16 games with a total of 58 or higher in the NFL.
11-4-1 to the over.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. It's like you are a machine. Teddy, great show, man. Outstanding stuff. Ralph Michaels, we love having you. Big thank you to Hakeem and Dave Sherapan and all of you guys in the posting forum. Without you, this show would not be as fun as it is. Teddy, until tomorrow, brother, namaste. We're out.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.